Laura Mitchell had always believed her life in the quiet suburbs of Brookdale was predictable in a comforting way. She worked as a community events coordinator, loved weekend barbecues, and raised her 13-year-old son, Ethan, with values she hoped would guide him far in life: honesty, kindness, and responsibility. Ever since her husband passed away 6 years earlier, she and Ethan had become each other's closest companions. Their bond was strong, or so she thought. Lately, something had changed. It started with the small things. Ethan, who usually talked to her freely about school, began giving one-word answers. He came home later than usual and brushed off her questions. Some nights, his homework folder stayed pristine, untouched, which surprised Laura since he used to be meticulous about schoolwork. She tried not to assume the worst. After all, adolescence came with mysteries, but a mother can sense when something is pulling her child away. Laura remembered one particular afternoon. She stood at the kitchen counter preparing dinner when Ethan slipped through the front door. His steps were soft but hurried, almost secretive. She noticed the way his shoulders tensed when she turned around. "You're late," she said gently. "Yeah, sorry. I was finishing some stuff," he muttered. "What stuff?" "School stuff." His tone wasn't rude, but it was distant, a tone he had never used with her before. Laura didn't push. She simply watched him disappear into his room, closing the door with a quiet click. She stared at the cutting board, the half-diced tomatoes blurring for a moment. She wasn't upset, just uneasy. Something felt off. The next morning, her worry grew when she saw Ethan eagerly packing his backpack at 6:30 a.m., almost an hour earlier than usual. He was fully dressed, hair combed, shoes tied, standing ready by the door like he couldn't wait to leave. "Why so early?" Laura asked. He shrugged lightly. "Just want to get to school." "You never want to get to school early," she said with a smile trying to lighten the mood. Ethan forced a chuckle. "Yeah, I guess I do today." He left before she could ask anything else. That day, Laura drove to work thinking about him. Was he being bullied? Was he struggling in class? Was it a friend? A class project? Or something more serious? Every possibility circled like a restless cloud. By lunchtime, she made a decision. She would talk to the school. After her shift ended early, she drove straight to Brookdale Middle School. The receptionist greeted her warmly. She recognized Laura from PTA meetings. "I was hoping to speak with someone about my son," Laura explained. The receptionist nodded. "What's his name?" "Ethan Mitchell." She typed quickly. "His homeroom and English teacher is Ms. Julia Carter. She's free in about 10 minutes. Would you like me to let her know you're here?" Laura agreed. She didn't know what kind of person Ms. Carter was. She had never met her, a surprise to Laura since she usually attended parent-teacher meetings, but this semester had been hectic. When the door to the office opened, a young woman in her mid-20s stepped out, wearing a simple cardigan and carrying a folder. She had warm brown hair, gentle eyes, and a surprised but pleasant smile. "Mrs. Mitchell?" she asked. "Yes. Thank you for seeing me." "Of course. Is everything okay?" Laura hesitated. "I'm not sure." Ms. Carter gestured toward her classroom. "We can talk in here." The room was quiet, filled with neat rows of desks and bright posters about reading and writing. Sunlight spilled across the whiteboard, giving everything a warm glow. "I don't want to jump to conclusions," Laura began softly, "but Ethan's been acting different lately." more withdrawn. And I just want to make sure he's doing all right in school. Ms. Carter listened with a look of concern. He's actually been staying after class sometimes, she admitted. Mostly for extra help. He's very bright, but he's been struggling to focus. Laura's stomach tightened. Has something happened? Ms. Carter shook her head. No, but he misses his father, doesn't he? The question surprised Laura. Yes, she whispered. He does. I noticed he looks at old photos sometimes. The ones he has in his binder. I never pry, but he opens up a little when he's having trouble with assignments. Laura relaxed slightly. This was beginning to make sense, a connection she hadn't realized Ethan was forming. Ms. Carter wasn't just a teacher, she was someone Ethan felt safe talking to. Thank you for helping him, Laura said sincerely. I'm happy too, the young teacher replied. He's a wonderful kid. He just carries a lot more than he lets on. As they talked, Laura realized that nothing about this felt secretive or inappropriate. It was simply a young teacher doing her job, caring for a student who needed guidance. But then one sentence from Ms. Carter gave her pause. He just doesn't want to worry you, she said. The words stung. Was Ethan hiding his feelings because of her? That evening, when Laura returned home, she found her son sitting at his desk, staring at a blank notebook. His shoulders slumped, eyes unfocused. Hey, she said softly, stepping into his room. Hey, we need to talk. He tensed again. About what? About you. And how you've been feeling. He swallowed. I don't want to make you upset. You won't, she promised. And she meant it. After a moment of silence, Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He tried to blink away. He talked about missing his dad, about feeling pressure at school, about worrying he wasn't good enough. He talked about feeling alone, even when surrounded by people. Laura listened without interrupting, letting him pour out everything he had been holding inside. I didn't want to tell you because you already have so much, he whispered. You work so hard. I didn't want to be another problem. Her heart broke in the gentlest, deepest way possible. Ethan, she said, pulling him close, you are never a problem. You are my son. And I want to know what you're going through, always. For the first time in months, he hugged her tightly. They talked for a long time, the room quiet except for the hum of the ceiling fan. When he finally calmed down, he told her about Ms. Carter, how she helped him with assignments, how she listened, how she understood things without him having to explain much. Laura smiled. She's a good teacher, she said. And I'm glad you have someone at school you can talk to. The next day, she emailed Ms. Carter to thank her again. The teacher responded warmly, offering to help Ethan however she could, extra tutoring, study strategies, and regular communication so they could both support him. Over the next few weeks, Ethan's behavior began to shift. He became lighter, more hopeful. His grades improved. He stayed after school sometimes, but now he told his mother why. Nothing was secret anymore. One crisp afternoon, Laura met Ms. Carter again during an open house event. The teacher approached with a bright smile. Ethan is doing wonderfully, she said proudly. He's more confident. He participates more. He's becoming a leader in class. Laura felt tears well in her eyes, tears of gratitude, relief, and pride. Thank you, she said. For everything. It's easy to help a child who tries so hard, Ms. Carter replied. They talked for several minutes, not as a worried mother and teacher, but as two adults who shared a mutual hope for the same child. As they spoke, Ethan walked over with a shy grin. "Mom," he said, "guess what?" "What?" "I got an A on my essay." She wrapped her arms around him, beaming. "I knew you could." Ms. Carter laughed softly. It was one of the best in the class. That evening, as they walked home together, something felt beautifully different. Ethan no longer looked weighed down. Laura no longer felt afraid of losing him. And somewhere between the falling leaves and the warm streetlights, she realized that the bond she was once worried about wasn't something forbidden at all, it was something healing. A mother's love. A teacher's guidance. A boy's journey toward confidence and hope. The story was never about secrets. It was about understanding. And understanding had brought them closer than ever.